In this video, we'll be speaking about the differences between instance and class variables. They are also called attributes. So we'll start off with speaking about instance variables. These are used to create the identity of the object. Some of the features, they are defined in the constructor. They are created only when an object is created. Each object created will have data stored in its instance variables. They are also unique to this object, as in the object that is created, and they are accessed using self. I'm going to demo an example to show all of these points. So we'll start off with creating our class. I'm just going to give it a generic name. My class, I'll say class 1, because we'll create another class for the other example. All right, let's define. So they are defined in the constructor. So let's create a constructor that takes its own or self basically. And let's say our instance variable is age. So we assign the value that comes through the constructor using self and access our instance variable and give it the value of age. Now I'm just going to add a comment here. We'll say that age is the instance variable. How do I spell variable? Just to be specific, it's this part here that is the instance variable. Now, so they are only created when the object is created. So let's go ahead and create the instance variable. So we'll create two objects just to show how each object will have its own value for the instance variable. So my class, since I'm using camel, so I'll just stick to it. I'll give it value 5. Let's create another object and make it 15. So each object created will have data stored in its instance variable, meaning the age of this object is going to be different to the age of this object because we are working with the instance variable. So these values are unique to this object only. So when we're giving the age 5, this is only for this object. 15 goes for object 2. How do we access the instance variable? Using self. So we'll print out object 1 dot age. Now we've accessed it through self here, but because it's actually the object has got this reference, so we can access it using the reference. Yeah. Okay, so this will actually print out the value of 5. Object 2 will print out 15. Let's run our program and see what we get. All right, so like we thought, each object will have data stored in its instance variables that are unique to this object only. So although the constructor, is assigning that age to that instance variable, but every creation of the object will give it a different age. Okay. So we refer to the instance variable using self, and then outside, well, we should use encapsulation, but we are using the reference, object reference, to access the value. Okay, so in this case, each object created will have its own age, like we're seeing in the output over here. Next, we move on to the second part, which is class variables or class attributes, on the other hand, belong to the class. Some features, they are defined at the class level, typically at the beginning of the class definition, outside any methods. So in the same way, we have a comparison here. Class variables are created when they are defined within the class. They store data that can be shared across all objects of the class. So it's different to instance variables, where we said it's unique to each object. This one is the class variables actually store data that can be shared across all objects of the class, and they are accessed using the class name. So let's demonstrate all of these points using the example over here. So this time I actually copy all of this class, and we'll keep whatever we've got for the instance variable. This time we'll call this class 2 so we won't run into issues. Okay, so what we have is we want to create our class variable. So let's say that author is something that we want to be shared across all objects. So this becomes our class variable. It belongs to the class. So here we can say as a comment, author is the class variable. Oh, I forgot to, I don't know how to spell it. Okay, got it. Okay, so in this case, they belong to the class, and this value will be shared across all objects of the class. They all have the same author, basically. This part I'll keep as is, because anyway it demonstrates the instance variable being age still. But let's talk about, so here we have defined and created the class variable. Typically you want to put this outside of any method, so it's at the class level. All right, so let's talk about how they are accessed using the same class and how they are shared among all objects of the class. So to access the value, we use the class name, which is in this case class 2 dot author. So this should display test. Oh, like this, tests. Just making sure I haven't got any other major problems in here. Let's run it. Okay, perfect. So the first output is coming from our previous class 1, but we're looking at class 2. So same thing is being displayed. These are instance variables, whereas test is a common value for this class. It's not attached to any of these instance variables, but rather it's a class variable that belongs to the class that can be shared across all objects. So no matter how many objects you create from this class, the class variable is still what you define it as. So this is the main difference. These are the main differences between instance and class variables or attributes. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the future videos. Thank you.